Hello everyone and welcome back to In the Studio with Ophelia. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I do totally appreciate your patience as everything seemed to have just been wrong and I couldn't get a video up last week. And so I also apologize for not having an intro today. Um, like I said, it's just been crazy. However, back at NAMTA, I was lucky enough to meet the owner of the Stencils for Crafters Workshop. And I just loved her stencils and everything about her and her personality. And then I found some gold paint. And I thought today we would do some jelly printing with some paint and some of the stencils that I purchased from her. It seems like a lot of stencils, but I'm sharing them with a friend. I'm using this Dura-Lar and it's by Graphics. I'll make sure to leave everything in the description. Not only am I using their craft plastic black and white, but then just a variety of other papers and such like that, as well as Lukas acrylic paints in a variety of colors. I will make sure to leave all of those linked in the description box. What I found as now that I'm looking back on this, and I ended up filming this in a couple of different sessions because of all of the issues that I had going on with my technology. And speaking of technology, I had to get a new computer, so I don't have an adapter for my microphone. So I'm using the built-in microphone on my computer, so I apologize in advance for the sound quality of this. And what I was going to say was, with all of the things, I realized that I just have way too many things going on. I pulled out way too many paints and then didn't really use a lot of them that I had pulled out. Way too many stencils and didn't really use a lot of those that I had pulled out. And clearly, as I'm printing, you'll see that I'm using way too much paint. I ended up filming this, as I was saying, in a couple of different, over the course of a couple of different days. And so it's kind of all over the place. And I literally should have edited a lot of it out. But then I kind of got caught up in watching the disaster unfold. So you will see that I end up using so much paint, way more than necessary, to create these prints. But for me, it really didn't matter because I'm using these as fodder. I don't really need a clear or pristine image print to be able to do what I want to do. So I'm just going through, playing around with the stencils, different color combinations, way too much paint, and honestly, just playing around. Luckily, my friend and I who share these stencils, she doesn't really care that I'm not the greatest at cleaning the stencils. I found that the one, and it's the lines, I'll make sure to leave it down in the description, but that one became my favorite one. I love using stencils that really don't have a direction, but they're just very abstract. And so I really enjoyed using these, and I just loved every single one. And the more that I printed, the more I realized how much more I wanted to print, which is why this ended up being filmed over the course of several different sessions. That black craft plastic is just incredible. And I will say that I did, later here in the video, you will see where I slow it down to kind of flip through the prints, but I really did love that black craft plastic, as well as it's the Dura-Lar by Graphic, and it's like a see-through type of paper that I just absolutely loved printing on. So I just continue to play. and continue to print. And as you guys know me, you know that this goes on for just way too long. I am in love with making papers. I am in love with creating fodder. I just love it. So, you just hang out and watch me print a lot of things. Really does get super messy super quickly, and that's okay with me. You'll also notice that my gel plate is on a, oh, what do you call those? Palette paper. And it's stained because, which is fine. My daughter used it with some alcohol ink, and it's totally fine. It still works perfectly. But I sat it on that, piece of palette paper just so that I could keep it from sticking to the paper and could move it out of the way easily. I've covered my desk, and I usually have my desk covered with additional pieces of newsprint. And so I didn't want the plate to actually kind of stick to that where I would have to unpeel it all the time and keep moving it. So that's why I have it on this palette paper. Also, I pulled out way too many stencils to just try out, and it just got to be overwhelming. So I did not use a lot of the ones that I had, which is fine because this is play session number 1, and so I've got a lot more printing play funness to get to. I do really love the subtleness that that gold paint by Lukas gives. It's just so pretty to have on the backgrounds and such like that. And again, I probably should have edited out a lot of this footage, but I just could not stop watching myself just continue to keep going and keep going and keep going. So feel free to fast forward through this if you need, but I just enjoy the process of playing with paper and creating paper prints. Here I'm just using the lid of that paint bottle and a paintbrush to just make marks and just come up with something a little bit different. So now I'm just kind of showing you the prints as I realize I had the footage sped up. So I'm just kind of going back through all of the prints that I made, and that print was on the white craft plastic, and this is the black craft plastic. And I really love printing on both of those. I also just keep random bits of paper in my studio, dictionary pages, that brown craft paper that you can use for packaging and stuff like that. I always keep that around. That's the Dura-Lar, and I love that it's pretty translucent. And then I changed up my setup here for a bit, but I'll explain that here in a second. I found, or I should say, I realized that I wanted to try everything out again, but just using a smaller amount of paint and seeing what would happen if I just had thinner layers of paint. I did change my background or my table cover because I found that I was just going through way too much newsprint to cover my desk, and I was just messy and always spilling my coffee. So I found this, it's almost like a plastic covered thing that looks like it's wood grain, and all you have to do is just wipe it off. And so I've put that to cover my desk, and I've got that my same gel print plate, but now I've just put it on an acrylic plate. And I'm just experimenting here with using far less paint and seeing what types of prints I can get with thinner layers of paint. Okay, so I've let all of the papers dry, and then I decided, of course, because I can't stop, I got some acrylic inks in like red, yellow, blue, and I'm gonna mix those inks with water. And I just kind of filled up the spray bottle with a little bit of water in the bottom, and I've created a spray bottle for each one except for that gold. And if you put the spray in the if you put ink in the spray bottle and it sprays too light, you can just add more ink or add more water until you get it to the darkness or the value that you want. And so I'm just taking some stencils and some of those pieces of paper and going over or spraying over them with the inks just to keep it going, because you guys know I literally just can never stop with good enough. So I'm just playing around with taking some stencils over the printed papers and just kind of experimenting, really. I've grabbed some old stencils that I had, and just kind of playing around. I do love the ability to have the inks in the spray bottles, and I've put, excuse me, I've put additional pieces of paper over my desk so that as I'm spraying, it won't go all over the place. And here at the end, you'll see where I take that paper and, of course, turn it into additional fodder to be used. And I literally just keep going with adding sprays over stencils. I like the ability to spray with acrylic ink because it almost creates like a spray paint that I can use in my studio. And so now I'm taking that gold acrylic ink and I'm using it with a paintbrush to just kind of add splatters and drips and such like that. Just kind of goofing off to see what else I can get. Now I'm just going to take those stencils and spray all over the piece of paper that was left on my, or I had on my desk to kind of cover the surface. Again, because I can't quit. And now we're just, you know, we've got to go all out. It was a lot of fun. And of course, I'll use all of these in um, just fodder. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.